I'm DC Miles, and this is the frontal bone. This is the supraorbital notch. This is the parietal bone. And this is the occipital bone. This is the foramen magnum. This is the occipital condyle. Right here, these little things. And this part right here is your temporal bone. And this is the external auditory meatus right there. This is the mastoid process. This part right here, the styloid process. This part right here, it connects to the jaw, the mandibular fossa. And this is the zygomatic process of the temporal bone. And this part right here is the entire sphenoid bone. This part right here is the greater wing. This is the lesser wing. This whole part right there, the sella tertia. This part up here is the ethmoid bone. These part right here are the cribriform plate. This part is the crista galli. The little part at the end right here sticking out is the perpendicular plate. And now we're going to go to the sutures. Oops. Okay, this part is the coronal suture, sagittal suture, the squamous suture, and the lambdoidal suture. The lacrimal bone is 14 and 40 right there. And this part right here is the entire mandible. This part underneath it is the alveolar process. This is the angle of the mandible right here. This part is the body of the mandible. This is the coronoid process, head of the mandible, mandibular condyle right here. This part right here is the mandibular ramus. And this little hole right here, as you see, number 52, is the mental foramen. This part is the maxilla. This part up here is the alveolar process. These holes, tiny two holes right here, is the infraorbital foramen. And then behind it we have the maxillary sinuses. And this part, as you can see, is the palatine process right here. This part up here is the nasal bone. As I said a little while ago, this is the process, but this bottom part right here is the palatal bone right there. Then we have the vomer bone. And you have the zygomatic bone. And then this part right here is the temporal process of the zygomatic bone. And this part, the whole thing right here is zygomatic arch. And then the holes inside the nose is the inferior conchae right there. And then we're going to go to the vertebral column. So we turn them around. The first 7 up here is the cervical. The next 12 is the thoracic vertebrae. And the last 5 is the lumbar vertebrae. This right here is the atlas. This other little thing right here is the axis. And this little pointy thing right here is called the den. And this part right here is called the sacrum. And this small area right here is called the coccyx. Turn them around. This whole part, little area right here, it's called the sternum. This top part of the sternum is called the manubrium. And this part right here is the body. This little bitty pointy area right here at the end of it, called the xiphoid process. Then we're going to go to the ribs. First 7 are the true ribs. And the next 5 are the false ribs. And the last 2 are the floating ribs. And then we have right here the clavicle. And then this area right here is called the coastal cartilage. This is the scapula. And we have the acromion process right here. And then on this right here, we have the coracoid process, the glenoid cavity. And we have the infraspinosus fossa right here, the spine of the scapula, subscapular fossa right here. And then the back part here, we have the supraspinosus fossa. Then we're gonna go to the upper limbs. We have the humerus right here. We have the radius, and this part right here is the ulna. Then we go to the hands. This part right here called the carpals. These right here, this area right here, it's called the metacarpals, and the fingers are called the phalanges. Then we're gonna go to the pelvic girdle. This whole thing right here is the coxal bone. This area right here is the acetabulum. This area right here is the obturator foramen. And then we're gonna go to the ilium. This right here, area right here is the iliac crest. And this area right here is called the greater sciatic notch. And then the bottom part is called the ischium. The ischial spine is the pointy part right here, is right where I'm pointing at. And then we have the ischial tuberosity right here. Then we also have the greater sciatic notch right here, this area. Lesser sciatic notch, right there. Then we're gonna go back to him over here. This area down here is the pelvic arch. And then we have the pelvic brim right here in this area. And then these right here is the pubis. And then we're gonna go to the lower limbs. And this right here is the femur. And this small little bone right here is called the fibula. And the bigger bone is called the tibia. And as we go to the foot, these are called the tarsals. And this area right here is called the metatarsals. And your toes are also called the phalanges.